Okay, after 1927, I mean uncertainty principle, 1928, that was very important year. It was important for two reasons. One, Indian scientist discovered something which supports the quantum mechanics. Another, from, you can say, British scientists who also supported this. So the British scientist was Professor Dirac. Paul Dirac. Dirac developed relativistic quantum mechanics. He wrote the Hamiltonian for a free particle h is equal to c alpha dot p plus mc square. And this, using this Hamiltonian, where alpha is a matrix, in this equation h is equal to c alpha dot p plus m0 c square, alpha is a matrix. So what he is doing, that he is combining the idea created by Heisenberg and Schrodinger, and combining these two, he developed an equation which has matrix as well as wave function, both. I mean Schrodinger. So combining the Schrodinger and Heisenberg, Dirac developed relativistic quantum mechanics known as Dirac relativistic quantum mechanics in 1928. And this relativistic quantum mechanics developed by Dirac is extremely important in the sense that, as you know, that the whole universe, you know the universe, but you also know anti-universe. You know the particle, you also know anti-particle. If there is a particle, there must be anti-particle. If there is a universe, there must be the anti-universe. Now, for the first time, theoretically, it was predicted that electron has positron. Positron means anti-electron. E plus, E minus is electron, E plus is positron. So Dirac predicted using his equation that positron exists in the nature. What he did, the experiment was done earlier, that high energy gamma ray, because gamma ray is the highest energy, gamma rays, then you take a particle, the energy level, it describes the energy level. It goes, because the Dirac equation predicts the positive energy level and negative energy level. And there is a gap between positive energy level and negative energy level. So that gap is 2m0 c square, very high energy gap. Ordinary particle cannot penetrate to go to the negative Dirac C or Dirac energy level. So he sent, I mean, hypothetical imaginary, experiment, that very high energy photon which can penetrate the gap between the positive energy state and negative energy state, that is known as forbidden gap, and that is equivalent to 2m0 c square. But 2m0 c square is very high energy. So we need a very high energy photon, more than 2m0 c square, to penetrate and go to the negative energy state. And if you go to the negative energy state, and negative energy states are all occupied by the particles, it gives the energy to the negative state particle. That particle comes out, go through the positive energy state, and then a hole is created in the Dirac sea, and that hole is positron. This was predicted by Dirac. So Dirac relativistic quantum mechanics is very important to predict antiparticle. Before Dirac, this particle, people used to believe that antiparticle may exist, but there is no any theoretical evidence or experimental evidence. There was some experimental, but not theoretical. So for the first time, Dirac proved that electron has anti-electron known as positron using his relativistic quantum mechanics, and the experiment, very high energy photon, energy greater than 2m0 c square, because that is the forbidden gap. It goes to the negative energy state, it gives the particle energy to the particle, it comes out, hole is created, but that hole is not a hole. That hole is a particle, antiparticle, that is the positron predicted by Dirac 1920. Later on, many experiments performed, and they supported, they proved that Dirac theory is a correct theory. But even Dirac theory did not explain many experiments. For example, Lamb experiment. That Lamb experiment, that is very hyperfine splitting of the levels, that cannot be explained using the relativistic quantum mechanics developed by Dirac or Klein-Gordon. So we need another theory to explain the this Lamb experiment or Lamb effect with this. So then Heisenberg and Pauli started to think how to explain the Lamb's experiment, Lamb's effect. That experiment supported or by the theory created by Heisenberg and Pauli. And that theory is not relativistic quantum mechanics or non-relativistic quantum mechanics, but that theory is known as quantum field theory. The quantum field theory, the origin or the harbinger of quantum field theory is Dirac equation, because you have the negative energy states, that is the infinite number of states, that is the C, Dirac C known as. So particles are everywhere, all states are fully occupied. So in the quantum field theory, just like in classical field theory, in quantum field theory, you have the infinite number of particles with infinite number of dimensions and there is freedom. So when relativistic quantum mechanics and non-relativistic quantum fail to explain the Lamb shift, then another theory was needed, and Heisenberg and Pauli in 1929 developed known as quantum field theory. But there are many experiments, the recent experiments, modern experiments, very expensive experiments, they disprove that quantum field theory is not adequate. So the breakdown of the quantum field theory or failure of the quantum field theory, or you can say inadequacy of the quantum field theory, we need another theory to explain the experimental observation performed by many scientists around the world. The another theory was developed in infinite dimensional space. Actually, we live in 3 dimensions. Your body or my body or what you're doing is a 3 dimension, X, Y, Z. Einstein did in 4 dimensions, X, Y, Z and T. But the string theory, the people developed, and they include infinite number of dimensions, not 3, 400, 1,000, millions and millions. So they developed the theory, they explained many experimental observations which were not explained adequately by Dirac theory or Schrodinger theory or Heisenberg theory, or let us say Heisenberg-Pauli theory. So string theory was developed, which allows to incorporate many dimensions. Because as you increase more and more dimension in your theory, you can visualize the universe better and better and better. As if you go at the 110-story building at the top, you can see the whole Chicago or New York and other parts. You have a different views. Similarly, if you go to the higher dimension of the theory, you can visualize the universe in a very different way. You can see something which has never been discovered before. You can discover something new. So, in string theory, they included many dimensions, and that those dimension inclusion has explained many theories. But even then, this theory was developed for either fermions or bosons. As you know, in the whole universe, how many types of particles exist in the universe, dear friends? There are 2 types, only 2 types of particles. One is bosons, another is fermions. What are the bosons? Bosons are particles which obey Bose-Einstein statistics. Fermions, they don't obey the Bose-Einstein statistics. The fermions obey Fermi-Dirac statistics. 2 types of statistics, 3 types, classical statistics, that is not very important in our discussion. So the quantum statistics, you have the 2, one for bosons, another for fermions. Okay, so Fermi-Dirac and Bose-Einstein statistics, because Bose proposed that develop the Einstein, but Einstein generalized it, and then okay, Bose-Einstein statistics. Okay, so there's two types of statistics and two types of particles and two types of wave functions. Either the Schrodinger wave function or the Heisenberg wave function or the Dirac wave function or the Klein-Gordon wave function. Only two types of wave functions exist, and two types of particles, and two types of statistics. This is very important to know. Okay, there were two types of wave functions because the whole wave mechanics is based on the wave function. That is the function of space and time. Psi is a function of r and t, space and time. So two types of wave function exist. One wave function is symmetric wave function, another is anti-symmetric wave function. What are the symmetric, anti-symmetric? In symmetric wave function, if you change r by minus r, suppose you have x, y, z particle is here, so the positive r. Suppose particle is there, just inverse it. This particle comes here, so minus r. If you change r by minus r, that is inversion. Particle is there, now particle is here. So this inversion, if you change r by minus r, but wave function does not change sign, it remains the same. That wave function is known as symmetric wave function. Another possibility, if you change r by minus r, wave function sign changed. So this kind of wave function which changes the sign, with change of r by minus r, this kind of wave function is known as anti-symmetric wave function. So Boson particles, they obey symmetric wave function, and Fermions particles, they obey anti-symmetric wave function. So only two types of wave function, changing r by minus r, no change of sign symmetric, change of sign anti-symmetric. So only two types of wave function, and wave function describes a particle. So only two types of particles, and they describe this by statistics because huge number of particles always. To find a single electron is too difficult. Millions and millions of dollars you have to spend. Always a huge, large number of particles, almost infinite number of particles. So always a statistic. So two types of statistics, two types of particles, two types of wave functions exist. No, not third, is not discovered. You young scientists, young teachers, brilliant teachers, intelligent teachers, talented teachers, you create some new physics. Go beyond this. But till today, only two things, symmetric, anti-symmetric wave function, bosons and fermions, and Bose-Einstein statistics permit it. Now going beyond this, now it is your responsibility to go beyond and to find something new, different than this. Because there is full stop, whatever you say today, that is not the final or the ultimate statement. Always we move forward and our statement changes. Science moves. Science moves on 2 feet. One is experiment, another is the theory, my dear friend. We have 2 feet. We always move with the 2 feet. And science also is, because sometimes experiment first, then theory to explain the experiment. Sometimes theory first, then experiment to support. Sometimes three possibility. First experiment, then theory. First theory, then experiment. And the third possibility, both at the same time. You have a big group of experimentalists and theories discussing theoretically, performing experiment all together. So simultaneously, theory and experiment, both you are developing. So three possibilities, this research: experimental research, theoretical research, maybe separate, maybe all together, superimposition of these two, or the blended model, what we are saying many times. Okay, then three, experiment and theory simultaneously. So these three all types of researches are going on. Okay, so we have discussed the string theory, including the many dimensions. But this was that string theory for bosons was different. String theory for fermions was different. So two theories, two particles, so two theory, string theory. Now people try to unify that why two string theory, one for bosons, another for fermions. Then another group of the scientists who develop SST, superstring theory. They unify these two theories. I mean, string theory for the bosons, string theory for the polymers. They unify, they call superstring theory. This superstring theory describes both. Now, you know that in nature, how many fundamental forces exist? Four. Gravitational force is the fundamental force. We live in the gravitational field. Sometimes we go in the in the outer space where there's then see how people are floating in the in the missile, or you go to the rocket launch, and a space flight you take, you go and experience. But we always live on the earth, in the earth's gravitational field. So this force is a fundamental force. Another, they are always in weak force and a strong force. We don't live, that's the nuclear. That is the nuclear forces. Nuclear forces are a strong force and weak force, but very short range. And this gravitational force is a very strong, very long range. And so let us gravitational, strong, weak, and the fourth force is electromagnetic. That is the fundamental force. Now, as you know, in 1979, Professor Abdul Salam, at that time, I mean, he was born in before 1947, so he was Indian before 1947, later on become Pakistan. Okay, so as an Indian, I like to say, because I was a good friend of him. I was the associate member of ICTP 3 Italy, and so So in 1979, Professor Abdul Salam and two American scientists, Weinberg and Glasgow, they unify out of two forces. Electromagnetic force and weak force, they call electromagnetic weak force. So out of four forces become three forces. But Einstein believed that we have only one force. Means we want to have one master equation which explains everything. So that is known as unification of forces. Einstein was interested. He tried his best. He worked very hard to, at the end of his life, not in a young age. Young age, he was busy in photoelectric field, special theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, Brownian motion. But in old age, he was interested to unify all fundamental forces, but he did not succeed. But Abdul Salam and other two American scientists, they unified two forces. But still, these three forces we have to modify and unify. So the later on, people try to develop a new model, a new theory, which can unify all these things. But all till today has not been unified. But there is another theory what people have developed, probably, that is known as GUT theory, G-U-T, Grand Unification Theory. I mean, unification, all the forces will be the grand, just like grandfather, the grand is grandfather, we have the grandchildren. So, same way, to unify all the forces, to have a single force, a master equation explains everything. Now, the people, what they are trying and thinking is still, they are trying, the world is working, but not achieved. What is that theory? That is the ultimate theory, the last theory, the final theory, the end of the science, the end of the physics, end of the work. Question is, what is the name of that theory? What I am telling, the end of the science and end of the physics. That is known as TOE, theory of everything. That is the ultimate goal. So now we have a long odyssey, a long journey, a long trip of the quantum physics, the evolution of the quantum physics, how the physics was growing. So we are starting from past, the birth in 1900, and then going all this journey, a long journey, then going to the future. The future model or the future theory or the future experiment, that will be theory of everything. We need one equation to explain everything in the nature. because there is a one and only God, one God. You know, according to religions, every religion has God. Even one religion has many gods. Suppose we are Indian, we are Hindu, we have many, many gods. And Christian have Jesus Christ. And the Muslim people have the Muhammad Prophet. They have the God. So every religion has the God. But I still believe that there is a universal religion and one and only God, that God has created the whole universe. Similarly, where there are four fundamental forces, but ultimately there is only one force. So that theory will be theory of the God, will be created by the God, but the scientists are working, or in the future lies in the theory of everything. So ultimately it is.